social media platforms, Facebook, Ghana, on DSTV. It's on channel 279, coming up in our bulletin this afternoon. Governing New Patriotic Party, the NPP, is electing a candidate for the May 23 by-election in Kumewu in Cairo, Egypt, working with Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration to coordinate the evacuation of the new nationals in Sudan amidst intense fighting. This afternoon, the students are making arrangements to head to the Sudanese border. And in the international front, U.S. military has evacuated American diplomats and their families from Khartoum. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are this afternoon. We are beginning from the camp of the New Patriotic Party because the national organizer of the party, Henry Nana Boakye, says the party has established systems to check aspirants with dual citizenships. Two of the candidates we know in the lead-up to the Kumewu NPP primaries withdrew from the race after the issue of their dual allegiance came up. My colleague William Evans Inkum is currently at the grounds where the voting process is happening, but he earlier engaged the national organizer of the party, Henry Nana Boakye, on these issues.
That certain matters cannot be discussed here. I mean, these are very senior persons within the New Patriotic Party. Yes, they picked forms to contest. For one reason or the other, they have stepped down. I think that it should remain as such. The most important thing is that voluntarily they decided that because of 1, 2, 3 reasons, they have stepped down for the race. I'm talking about a very respected lawyer Osei, also another medical doctor, Dr. Bano, also stepped down, and then also another former MP, very senior MP, who used to be former MP for Kumewu, that is Honorable Yaba. He also stepped down. And then when you go into all the reasons they cited, all the reasons sits well with that. We have accepted their withdrawal notice in good faith, and then we should progress. The reasons why they stepped down and its aftermath, I don't think that it will be important for me to speak to this matter.
Nanabi, my final question has to do with the lesson that you've learned, because in 2020, somebody like Edward Kofi Osei even took part in the primaries. If he had won, the caveat was that he had only 5 months to go through the process of, neutralizing his dual citizenship. Then he will become, eligible for the 2020 election then. But of course, there was a caveat: 2 years in a worst case scenario before that process can go through. Imagine that particular man had been elected ahead of Philip Baswa. What lesson has the party learned from this?
I'm not going to speak to this matter, but I'm going to speak generally. We have a precedent. There have been some parliamentary primaries where the rules and regulations required in the past that if you, at a point, in possession of dual citizenship, or if you had dual citizenship, you don't even come and pick forms at all. You need to show proof of renunciation before you are allowed to contest. Now, moving forward and progressively so, we have the view that, look, our party in diaspora, our external branch, they contribute enormous to the party. So of what benefit will it be, especially for the party, if you have an aspirant who holds dual citizenship, he comes to contest only within our parliamentary primaries, and then he loses. But before then, you had requested, or it was a strict requirement for the person to put in his renunciation notice before he contests. We felt that it would have been a double jeopardy. First of all, you would have lost your citizenship, and then secondly, you would have also lost the primaries that you contested in. So we said that, okay, now, the person can contest. If you hold a dual citizenship, you can contest. After you win, then you take considerable steps to renounce. But then if you're unable to do so, before we send your particulars to the Electoral Commission, and by which time you had not proven to us that indeed you had renounced your citizenship, then we will withdraw you. There's always a caveat. So I'm not speaking to this Kumau situation, but I'm making a general view. So that is what pertains.
Is a caveat that has been established under your guidelines?
Yes. If I was joining our former General Secretary, lawyer Sir John, it was during his tenure that we refined the status quo. So now we have a situation where if you hold a dual citizenship, you can come and contest. But after you win, then you take considerable steps to make sure that you renounce your citizenship, by which time the General Secretary had not filed nominations for parliamentary candidates at the premises of the Electoral Commission. Then you are okay. But if you had not provided the party with the certificate of renunciation, then it means you cannot go into the elections. Right. So that is the general principle we have. Yes.
Right. Thank you. All right. So we have been speaking with the national organizer of the party, Nanabi, and he's been telling us, walking us through, actually, I mean, the process of renouncing, or an aspirant renouncing his citizenship, that is, if he has, or he or she has, with another country apart from Ghana, and then the party's position, which is very crucial or critical, because this particular issue came up, and it was one of the more reasons why, I mean, somebody like lawyer Edward Kofi Osei withdrew from the contest, even though he took part in a 2020 parliamentary primaries.
Let's head over now to the Kumewu constituency. We know it's a moment where the NPP is seeking to get a candidate for the May 23 by-election in that constituency following the death of the sitting MP Philip Baswa. Today's primaries is promising to be fierce intra-political contest to all 5 aspirants who appear to find themselves literally in a virgin territory since 2012. William Evans-Nkum has been monitoring development. He's joining us for the latest. William, tell us from where you are, what's been the development? Has voting begun yet?
Well, it has, Nana. So not too long ago, the Council of Patrons, or Council of Elders, patrons of the party, and of course the constituency executives all went through the process of, casting their votes and then for their preferred candidates, actually. So here we're talking about some 427 delegates. For the polling station, they constitute a chunk of the Electoral College in excess of 370. Then, of course, we're talking about the Council of Elders, we're talking about patrons, we're talking about constituencies, the constituency executive. They form the Electoral College. As far as the Kumewu constituency is concerned, the only person who is not voting is the Member of Parliament, who is now late. Of course, I'm also told that the first vice chairman of the constituency, who is now contesting to gain that sole slot to lead in the NPP in May 23 by-election, has also lost his voting right because of where he finds himself at the moment. I'm talking about Apia Kube. So that is the nature or the structure of the Electoral College and what is happening here at the moment. Kamala.
William, tell us about the participation, of these members of the Electoral College. How long have they shown up to this particular process, and what's been the level of commitment? Does it look like they really want to do this and get it done as soon as possible?
Well, today is Sunday. They were supposed to converge here at exactly 9 a.m. for voting to start 30 minutes afterwards. But, as typical of Sundays, some of them were in church, so they could not come here on time. Voting started some 20 minutes ago, but it's going to run with some level of speed because of the system that the Electoral Commission has placed. They do not want to spend a lot of time here because even in fact the Electoral College, they are not much, or they are not many, if I should put it that way. So we shouldn't be going beyond 2 hours as far as the entire process is concerned. But in terms of commitment, as you mentioned, you and I know, Kamla, that we're talking about factions within the NPP in the Kumewu constituency. It is the same faction that contributed in the party losing hugely in the 2020 parliamentary elections. Before voting will start, the chief stripe of the party made them swear oath of allegiance. One on the side of the delegates, and then on the other hand, the side of the candidates, all swearing oaths of allegiance that no matter what happens, they're all going to rally behind the party, and that was very crucial to the leadership of the party. Because it is something that really depleted the party's unity in the 2020 parliamentary elections after the primaries. A huge division in the party affected its fortunes in the 2020 parliamentary elections. And they do not want that thing to repeat in the 2024. And that's the more reason why they are taking steps. So the swearing of allegiance, or oath of allegiance, was one of the systems that they've put in place just to ensure that no matter what happens today, nobody splits away from the party and joins an independent candidate.
Thank you very much, William Evans Inkum there. We're going to be returning to William Evans Inkum as and when polls end to see which of the candidates will emerge victorious in this particular first leg of the process, and then he will proceed to be part of a May 23 by-election in Kumewu. Let's have some updates on a developing story about the now defunct Tema Oil Refinery, because former President and NDC 2024 flag bearer hopeful John Mahama has taken on government for running down the facility since it assumed office. In the last few days, workers of the refinery have been up in arms over the continuous neglect of a facility while calling on the removal of their managing director. Speaking to party faithful on his tour for Shaiman, John Mahama said a future NDC government will work to get the Tema Oil Refinery back on its feet.
When NDC was in office, BOST was working properly. When NDC was in office, TOR was working and refining crude oil. When NDC was in office, the Tema port was busy. Today, Tema is a pale shadow of itself. Some businesses have closed down. Since we left office, TOR has never processed crude oil again. I remember before we left office, we sent to TOR the first parcel of Ghanaian crude oil from our own oil field for TOR to process. That oil sat there for several years. Eventually, they discounted the oil and sold it out without processing it. I can assure you, when NDC comes back, Tema and Ashaman are going to stand on their feet again.
Now, the report of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining can only be rightly referred to as a catalogue of personal grievances and claims made by Professor Frimpong Boateng, a former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and also chairperson of the SWAL Committee. That's according to a statement from the presidency. The presidency says the document was not an official report formally delivered to the office of a president. We also know that in that statement by the presidency on Saturday, April 22, it noted the document was handed to the chief of staff at the office of a president on March 19, 2021 in an informal meeting. It noted that at the meeting of Professor Frimpong Boateng, he complained about public attacks and criticisms made about his tenure as chairperson of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. According to the statement, while Professor Frimpong Boateng makes serious allegations against some government appointees as having been involved in supporting or interfering with the fight against illegal mining, not a single piece of evidence was adduced or presented to enable the claims to be properly investigated. It further noted that the president's commitment to fighting illegal mining is unassailable. The office of the president says it, however, welcomes any information on illegal mining activities which provides a credible basis for investigations to be conducted by Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. And if you've been following this development in the last 2 days, many of the former appointees of government and those currently in government have denied any complicity in the illegal mining menace. Professor Charles Bissue, he was a secretary of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. He says none of the cabinet ministers, some of whom were cited in that report, did any wrong. He said they did their jobs.
With regards to the president disregarding dealing with the Galamsey Menace. I'm not sure, because he was the chairman of the committee. So he could have gone to the president and said that, and then he said he did. But he himself, I don't think he should come out to say he's the last one standing, saying that all the committee members left him alone. Was he really listening to them? That's question number one. Because if you have 10 cabinet ministers on or in a committee working with you, I don't think they will just leave the mandate to one person. He knows that there are a lot of things that I know, that maybe he was trying to run the show unilaterally and then leaving the rest, hence not informing the rest about the things that he's doing. But I do not think that the other ministers left the committee to him. I can mention, as the secretary, I can mention each and every minister's contribution towards dealing with the problem. Dan Butchie, Kofi Jamesi, who traveled around the whole country with me, Cecilia Dapa, because at a point you realize that Water Resources Commission that works under the Ministry of Water and Sanitation came out with a report that the stability levels of the water bodies were good. In Ankobra, the waters were clean. So every minister was doing what they were supposed to do. Dominic Nitu, Ambrose Derry, Operation Vanguard were doing their jobs.
And we know it has become an issue that has simply refused to go away, whether or not it's an entirely different procedure in terms of fighting illegal mining, whether it's a lack of political will or also a chain of factors, including unemployment, which has led to the Galamsey Menace being where it is and being lost in terms of a fight. My colleague Noble Crosby Annan has more on what has become the most talked about issue this week.
Vast lands have been destroyed, forest vegetation cut down, water bodies polluted as illegal mining activities continue unabated across the country. From Operation Flush Out in 2006 during former President Kufuor's administration to the establishment of the Interministerial Task Force on Illegal Small-Scale Mining, through to Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt and Operation Halt 2 amongst others, the public uproar, anger and interest in this matter continues. It gets louder as citizens and environment watchers alike point fingers at various governments, but particularly the Akufo-Addo-led New Patriotic Party government over the failed Galamsey fight. The revelations from a 36-page Galamsey report from Professor Frimpong Boateng has dominated the headlines. The report, fair to say, shook various ranks within the NPP government and some state agencies over various levels of complicity in Galamsey. Several persons named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report have been responding to the allegations against them. Information Minister Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is among the latest to challenge the claims.
We'll get back to a lot more on that particular report, but let's bring you a subject that's been dominating the headlines in the last few days. The Ghana Embassy in Cairo, Egypt, with concurrent accreditation to Sudan, says it is working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration and the Honorary Consulate to coordinate the evacuation of Ghanaian nationals in Sudan. It comes amid intensification of fighting between rival military factions in that country. A statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says plans are currently underway to secure the safe passage of Ghanaians in Sudan to Ethiopia. The statement assures the general public and families and acquaintances of Ghanaians in Sudan that efforts are being made to ensure the safety of the Ghanaians there. Joining us via phone is the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, Kwampre Chum Sapon. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. So where are we now with respect to this particular process by evacuating the people and moving them from Sudan, where fighting has been intensifying, to Ethiopia?
Sure. Let me first thank you and thank your station for giving me the opportunity to speak on this matter. I also want to take the opportunity to thank your listeners for listening and trying to update themselves on the situation in Sudan. Yes, true. As you said, in the last 10 days, there have been fighting between two forces in Sudan, and it has led to casualties in excess of 300. Fortunately, no Ghanaian has been affected, or no Ghanaian has fallen as a casualty or a victim of the ongoing power struggle and the infighting happening in Khartoum. At the moment, we have managed to account for all known Ghanaians. In Sudan, we have a large number of Ghanaian students at 2 universities. The number of students up to 73. And then we have 3 Ghanaian footballers playing professional football in Sudan. All these people have been accounted for.
Okay.
And our next move is trying to move them from harm's way, which is from Sudan, to the nearest country, which is Ethiopia. And that, for that matter, we have the coordination work ongoing between our honorary consul in Khartoum. Khartoum or Sudan, we don't have an ambassador. What we have is an honorary consul who looks after the consular affairs of Ghanaians in Sudan.
Okay.
But our mission in Egypt is the one that has responsibility for Sudan affairs. So our ambassador and his staff from Cairo have been in touch with the honorary consul and the student leadership in Khartoum. And then we have also had to bring on board our embassy in Addis Ababa, because Addis Ababa or Ethiopia happens to be the nearest country that we intend moving them first to. And then from when we get to the border, we will then move them to Addis Ababa.
Okay.
And then we intend bringing them home. Now, those who will be prepared to come home, we intend to bring them home. There are times when you move them from harm's way into another safe place, you get some of them not willing to come home. We had the experience when Ukraine came on board. When we moved our students, predominantly about 900 of them, and they got to the neighboring countries of Poland, Hungary, and Romania, some of them decided that they would not come home, even though we had arranged and we were flying them back to Ghana. Some decided not to. Some decided to continue to some of the other Western European countries. So in this particular case, we can't force anybody.
Okay. Once
we get them into a safe place in Ethiopia, we will put it to them, we want to take you all back to Ghana. But it is not going to be. So far, that is the arrangement that is in place. We are going to move them. Today, we are starting the movement. And then when we get there, we will continue as I have said. But the good news is we have accounted for all the 3 footballers that we know on our books and all the 73 students that are in the 2 universities on government lists. We have accounted for all of them. And we are in touch with the leadership of the students group in undertaking this evacuation exercise.
All right.
So far, so good.
We'll be getting back to you, Honorable, in the course of time for the latest on this evacuation process. Kweku Amprechum Sarpong, he is the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, speaking to us on the latest involving fighting in Sudan. A short while before we got on air, we were in touch with some of the student groups in Sudan who say at the moment they are working to be moved from the capital of Sudan to the nearest border point so they can continuously be evacuated to Ethiopia. Let's now bring you back that conversation about Galamsey and all the different legs and arms of the Galamsey fights, from the lack of political will to all the other factors that are contributing to the failed fight.
Vast lands have been destroyed, forest vegetation cut down, water bodies polluted as illegal mining activities continue unabated across the country. From Operation Flush Out in 2006 during former President Kufuor's administration to the establishment of the Interministerial Task Force on Illegal Small-Scale Mining, through to Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt and Operation Halt 2 amongst others. The public uproar, anger and interest in this matter continues. It gets louder as citizens and environment watchers alike point fingers at various governments, but particularly the Akufo-Addo-led New Patriotic Party government over the failed Galamsey fight. The revelations from a 36-page Galamsey report from Professor Frimpong Boateng has dominated the headlines. The report, fair to say, shook various ranks within the NPP government and some state agencies over various levels of complicity in Galamsey. Several persons named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report have been responding to the allegations against them. Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah is among the latest to challenge the claims. Amongst the names mentioned in the report over their complicity in thwarting the fight against illegal mining is an NPP functionary and former MP for Manson Kwanta, Joseph Albert Kwam. He has denied the allegations against him.
It is a blatant lie.
You don't own a concession.
I don't have even a single concession throughout my life. So why this report?
Did you help anybody to get a concession in your constituency while you were a member of the Minerals Board Commission?
No, not at all.
He says he may be compelled to take legal action against the originator of the report.
What I'm going to do is I will let my lawyers write to him to retract and apologize. Other than that, we will go to court.
You go to court?
Yes.
Still on the pushback to the explosive report, leading member of the NPP and cousin to the president, Gabi Otridako, has not minced words.
It even tells you how weak the minister's understanding of his position is. If what I did was illegitimate, why don't you take the right action? That he reported me to the president. For the president to do what?
In the face of the allegations and counter-allegations, how can we get to the bottom of this? Political commentator and a private legal practitioner Martin Kpegbu proposes the establishment of an independent commission of inquiry.
One of the most viable things he had to do was to set up a commission of inquiry. You see, because it is a matter of national interest. Subject to Article 5 of this Constitution, the President shall, by constitutional instrument, appoint a commission of inquiry into any matter of public interest where A, the President is satisfied that a commission of inquiry should be appointed, or B, the Council of State advises that it is in the public interest to do so, or C, Parliament, by a resolution, requests that a commission of inquiry be appointed to inquire into any matter specified in the resolution as being a matter of public importance.
Bear in mind, there have been series of meetings and engagement on the fight against illegal mining. President Akufo-Addo, during a meeting with the National House of Chiefs last year, called for greater collaboration with traditional leaders in the fight against Galamsey. This engagement is subsequent to the report from the minister presented to the president in March 2021. Many Ghanaians have been asking whether it would not have been better for the president to take action based on the findings from the former minister's report. While speaking on the key points, Ningo Prampram MP Sam George bemoaned the lack of action from the president since the report was made. He wants the office of the special prosecutor to be involved.
I'm wondering why the chief of staff and the presidency has not called any of the individuals mentioned in this report to hear their sides of the story and open an investigation. This is something that should have been referred to the special prosecutor by now. When the president spoke and said, I put my presidency on the line, if the president really meant it, the president would have resigned by now.
Sam George thinks the report should not be discredited.
Professor Frimpong Boateng is no roadside personality in this country. So we're not talking of some party foot soldier who is engaged in PSA or whose credibility is in question. Frimpong Boateng's report, why you cannot take it as a work of a literary piece of work, but as something serious, is the kinds of names he mentioned. If you connect the dots, you cannot discount what Frimpong Boateng is saying.
As we keep failing in the fight against illegal mining, political science professor Ransford Jampel wants the Council of State and other elders in the country to bow their heads in shame.
And I'm still wondering whether we still have a credible body called the Council of State. I'm wondering whether we still have elders in this country. I am wondering whether we still have sober minds in Ghana. If we still have elders in this country, then I am sorry to say that they are no longer worth their salt to occupy that status.
The need is simple. Take action, as the inactions contribute to the menace just as much as the activity itself.
Some education-related stories, and Season 6 of a Sharks Quiz competition has officially begun, with St. Louis Senior High School cruising past the Academy of Christ the King in the first contest. With a total of 32 schools in this year's contest, the stakes are undoubtedly really high.
The Sharks Quiz competition is an all-round school quiz competition. The quiz promotes core competencies in literacy, numeracy, STEM, and social literacy. The premiere of Season 6 saw St. Louis Senior High School cruise past Academy of Christ the King and Tamale Islamic Science Senior High School, shocking Archbishop Porter girls to progress into the next stage of the competition. Unlike other quiz competitions, the curator of the Sharks Quiz competition, held annually for both junior high schools and senior high schools, Abel Hiniakwe, says this is all round.
The Sharks Quiz, has this family appeal. And so whether you are a father, mother, whether you're an older brother, whether you are a youngster, you still get to, follow the quiz. The fact that it's all inclusive in its approach.
Putting aside the bragging rights, cash prize, and scholarships, he says Season 6 will be fierce.
Season 6 is going to be exciting. We're expecting fireworks and crackers. The Sharks has had a different winner every season for the seniors. So Christian High won Season 1, Opokwari School won Season 2, Presec Legon won Season 3, Wesley Girls won Season 4, and then St. Peter's Senior High School won Season 5. And I'm sure these schools that I've mentioned, each one of them wants to make a record, set a record of becoming a school that won the Sharks the second time.
The contest airs on TV3 and TV3 Ghana on social media on Saturday at 1 p.m., Sunday at 10:30 a.m., and Monday at 5 p.m. Who takes over from St. Peter Senior High School, winners of Season 5.
You're still watching Midday Live from the News Hub here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. Don't go anywhere. We have more stories, including sports, entertainment, and some more international news after this.
Fortune rice, it needs just a little water. The greenstone stick and the aroma and taste are delicious. Fortune rice, always on point, just like mom.
Now introducing Fortune Emupa, your tasty Ghana rice for all your rice meals.
This advert is FDA approved.
OneXBet, reliable bookmaker with high odds. Wide selection on events and bonuses for every taste. OneXBet, easy use, easy win.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years.
Abrantie mi hu fum so bia won ho ai si ku sa abrantie we o ka kire nkrofo ni se me mu bia nto home of line e wo so bia keke na o sa kwa so ajenkwa ohene sasai kan ni important ni na o di nchesha dada manfo ase o madu poto miwi na mesi ya ka ha kwa ke ho se na wa sel iti kuno atiale wudini usu wa himie wa hifa
asasi anyone did do nyina ya mini meja dia na mo ha se memo ni pa hunu ni eye na ye papa
ni na ye papa
ani so ni pa beto ni home appliances nyina wo kafam Esan say when you anya mim so fa so pe. Instead, ka farm sorte. Oteto won niam na so akodu 65%.
TV say pa no boy say.
Insho, I'm not sorte o.
You TV akese wa fia.
Anyhow.
Yeah. Abrante me bi samwa, obi antimi ka kire me de ntie se me kunu. Ensam o kan susu to asum. Afi wei ye de Yesu hu be che no. If so kan sempa. Afi foforo no ye be dwe. Maka from for nso to me.
Anyhow. Hello? Kafam. Uma sorte Ponto Pilato mame.
Digital Zacchaeus, Michelle Kofaka from TV Kasian Brem.
Krache, Mahunya ha.
Kafam, assorted Easter promo. Up to 65% off.
I hit my wife and she fainted, and since that day I met my rock bottom. So that was when I realized that I may end up in a prison.
It is the infamous white powder, dreaded by law enforcement, loved by its users.
I wasn't getting high from the marijuana anymore, so a friend of mine introduced me to crack cocaine and heroin.
For many though, it is a nightmare.
There
is a rise in abuse.
The abuse of cocaine has risen so much as compared to the early 90s. So it is very dangerous.
And with it, an increase in the deaths of addicts.
People died and we don't know where they come from.
Experts say the use and abuse of cocaine is increasing in Ghana. So what does this mean for the next generation? Godwin Asedeba meets those using it, those ravaged by it, those attempting to recover from it.
Oh, divine master, grant that I may not so much slave.
And those working to ensure that cocaine does not destroy an entire generation. Married to Cocaine airs on Wednesday, April 26 on TV3, TV3 Ghana across social media and 3news.com.
The political capture of the media has caused it to lose its status as the fourth estate of a realm to civil society. That's according to Lead Afrique, Ghana's executive director, Michael Ohene-Efa, speaking in Accra at a program to strengthen civil society. He observed that Ghana would have declined further if the last 5 years if civil society had not stopped or stepped in to fill the role the media has abandoned.
The media is referred to as the fourth estate or fourth power in both the explicit capacity of advocacy and the implicit potential to define political concerns. The executive, the judiciary and the legislature are the first three estates of the realm. They are regarded as major players in the nation's governance, with the media serving as an impartial check on the first three, particularly the executive.
The media for me has checked that primary responsibility on being the fourth estate of the realm. But some commentators are saying it is now a fifth column that is actually working against the interests of the people because of political capture of our media. So for me, civil society is the one playing that role of being the fourth estate of the realm. Without civic actors, without civic activism, we won't be here.
Star Ghana Foundation and the West Africa Civil Society Institute are currently implementing the Civil Society Strengthening Program with the objective of shifting power in development practice.
We shouldn't only work with CSOs that are based in Accra and that have the name. So currently we are working with a number of such CSOs. One is based in Akwatia. They are the scrap dealers, and they are saying that the way in which they buy their scrap and all those things is not fair, so they want to improve their capacity to be able to negotiate. And so it is about ensuring that all voices matter and that we work together to make development effective.
This 8-year program aims to provide long-term support to civil society actors in Ghana in delivering the priorities of their constituent. It seeks to build institutional resilience of civil society organizations by providing a more aggressive, negotiated, participatory and widely owned solution to social development work.
A critical part of this program is the local philanthropy part, that we are going to be looking within our communities to see what are the resources that we have and how can those resources be part of what it is that we are doing.
Prior to the launch, Star Ghana and partners held a series of consultations across the country on the validation of project frameworks and tools developed for the implementation. The program targets to reach over 90 CSOs in 3 categories.
Our civil society partners who are in the communities should be the ones leading those kinds of conversations. And I think we will have to go beyond just say conversations to how we are translating the ways of doing things differently in the partnerships that we have with the civil society actors.
Now, residents of Jamestown in Accra have lashed out at the Metropolitan Assembly over their inability to enforce the sanitation bylaws there. They bemoaned the indiscriminate dumping of refuse when they took their turn on 2FM's Community Connect program.
Jamestown is fishing and fishing is Jamestown, but over the years, filth in the Kwale Lagoon that ends up in the sea has led to a total decline of fish here.
The predominantly fishing community, due to its proximity to the coastal line, is located close to the central business district of Accra. In a discussion led by the host of 3FM's Community Connect, John Hughes, prevailing insanitary conditions in the area came up.
The fishermen within the community used to go to fishing at the Gamashi Jamestown Beach, and the rubbish that comes out from the Lagoon River normally used to come to the beach where we the fisher folks at the beach. It's a very big challenge to us, which we cannot contain. That's why this morning we came here about the black polythene bag. We want to ask from the AMA or the government, what is he going to do about that black polythene bag? Because whenever there is a rain, all these bottled waters and the sachets used to go into the gutters, from the gutters to the lagoons.
Came here, they came and met something, which is not good. It means somebody is not doing his work well. We have an assembly member who's supposed to check the area. We have the community, these community people who's supposed to go around and see things. They don't do their job well.
According to the Metropolitan Public Health Director, Florence Kuchi, 657 residents were prosecuted for sanitation offences just last year alone.
Just last year alone, we prosecuted not less than 547 people in court against sanitation issues. AMA is trying as much as possible to get our own sanitation court. And when we have our sanitation courts, the issues of sanitation issues will come down. What we have come to understand is people want legal actions more than education. So when we start with the legal measures, they will change.
The presiding member of AMA, Alfred Ajay, said he's hopeful the sanitation situation in the area will be addressed. Jamestown, also referred to as British Accra, hosts a number of colonial infrastructure such as the famous James and Usher forts and a lighthouse. The 3FM Community Connect is community engagement program. There was also a free health screening for the residents. Joseph Armstrong, Good Alibu TV3, Accra.
Now, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Development Agency or Association, Samuel Amegaibo, has attributed the decline in the real estate industry to increasing cost of building materials due to high taxes, among others. Real estate is a subsector of the services industry, which contributed the highest to Ghana's GDP, however, recorded negative growth with a year-on-year decline of 7.6% between 2021 and 2022. Simon Amegaibo tells 3 Business the trend is worrying.
Any specific policy initiative to look at our issue. And one of them that we keep arguing or talking about has to do with even the cost of the building materials. because we are saying that now that the price has gone up because of all the issues, the external factors, the dollar-cedi exchange rate, it means that government tax component, which is a percentage of the product price, has equally gone up. So why don't we look at just giving some flat rates to apply to some of this importation, to help us manage the increments internationally and how it's affecting the industry. We haven't heard anything in that area. We keep, like everybody is left to survive, manage it. The prices on the market are as it is. If you can pay, pay. If you cannot pay, take a decision on what you want to do. I have not seen anything in this direction. We all agree that there are difficulties, but you need to take some measures, give this temporary relief to industries to be able to sustain. If we don't look at this thing carefully, we'll eventually kill these industries, and the repercussions will be very dire and more difficult to handle.
You're still watching Midday Live from a news hub here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. We have more stories, sports, entertainment right after this break.
Last year was massive. This year, it will be the bomb. Tour du Ghana, the ultimate cycling event in the sports calendar, happening on the 20th and 21st of May 2023. Confirm your participation. Registration fee is 200 Ghana cedis for single riders, while 100 Ghana cedis goes for clubs with 10 riders or more. Your registration comes with personal accident cover, accommodation, feeding, and transportation. Start point of the tour is from the West Hills Mall, SCC to the Takrady Mall, and from Takrady to the Cape Coast Chapel Square. For more details, contact 0244 893758 or 0546 063 747. Tour du Ghana, happening on the 20th and 21st of May 2023. Be part of the excitement.
3FM Tour du Ghana is brought to you by Super Yogo.
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space. Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education, together with women's maternal health services. Our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office.
It's time for sports here on Midday Live. My name is Kelvin Owusu, so let's begin from match week 27 of the Ghana Premier League. And Accra Hearts of Oak were beaten 1-0 by Bechim United at the Nana Fosu Abo Park on Saturday, thanks to Hafiz Konkoni won a penalty.
Turn from Abdul Karim. Here's Setko Jose. Good movement. Clinton Dodu steps up. Here's Dodu. He goes down in the box. It's a penalty. Penalty. Look at the movement of Kajose. He spots Clinton Dodu's run. He goes forward. He made contact. Referee thinks the contact is enough to warrant a penalty. Referee whistles. Konkoni steps forward. And Hafiz Konkoni makes it 1-0 for Bechim United. His 13th goal of the season. Bechim United 1, Hearts 0.
So that was it there at the Nana Fosu Abo Park. Today at 6 p.m., the biggest liner, Asante Kotoko against Aduana FC, is at 6 p.m. Now moving on to the English FA Cup, and Riyad Mahrez scored the first hat-trick in an FA Cup semi-final since 1958. Klassen, Sheffield United.
Laporte arriving, it's headed away, comes back to Bernardo Silva. Jefferson trying to get clear, but I think he may have committed a foul, and that's going to be a penalty. What a mistake from the youngster. Fotheringham against Mahrez. Simple and effective. Manchester City haven't had much joy. Mahrez has robbed Max Lowe. Haaland is on his bike and charging towards the edge of the penalty area. Mahrez might go all the way here. It just seemed to open up in front of him, and he couldn't resist the invitation. It's quiet. 65 gone. Grealish. In towards Mahrez. It's a hat-trick. Riyad Mahrez for Manchester City gets the first FA Cup semi-final hat-trick since Alex Dawson for Manchester United in a replay win for Fulham against Fulham at Highbury. And what a story! All eyes on Haaland, but it's Mahrez who does the damage.
His teammates want to receive. Not been a better example of it today than that.
Yeah, I think he's learning his all-round game. He's getting better and better.
So that was Manchester City there. At 3:30, Manchester United play against the Brighton and Hove Albion in the other semi-final. Now heading over to boxing, Idro White Event Center is set to host the Night of Stars and Celebrities boxing bout on the 30th of April. The boxing event is set to create opportunities for Ghanaian young boxers to become world champions.
Bronx Boxing Promotions, Box Office Sports and Kabik Promotions, as well as Management Syndicate have joined hands as partners for the programs on the bill. Young rising stars who are aiming for world titles. The main bout of the night is a 12-round WBO Africa Featherweight Championship between John Lai and Solomon Mate, as well as the main undercard 12-round West Africa Boxing Union Super Welterweight Championship between Emmanuel Quay and Jacob Tetelai. The Bukum bomber Alfred Lamte, also called Showtime, will face Namibian Nathaniel Kalololo in a 10-round Super Featherweight contest. The show will be rounded off with a 12-round WBO Africa Super Welterweight Championship between Patrick Alote and Suleiman Jafaro. Promising fans of how interesting the night will be, some boxers have this to say.
A night is going to be a good night, and I wish everyone to come and witness what is boxing. And I thank my opponent, Michael Tego, that he's a very good boxer, and I wish he will be giving me good fight in the night.
Emmanuel Quay, ele choco fire. Ni mwene gbinege ita we choco fire. Eba do much. E ngona wa age ni ne wa ba no. E ya ge ka ye ku esa ge akpopo ko ji ami ko ni ana ge dadi e ko mi wa fi ko.
Organizers also believe the night is set to be interesting and a memorable one in the history of Ghana boxing.
Our major concern will be winning a world title, just like anybody here will be happy that we get a world title. So if promoters can be up and doing and pushing for platforms like we have now, I'm sure that in no time we can create the necessary environment so that everyone's wish, which is getting a world title, can be achieved.
Well, we just hope that we have the next set of boxing talents. Now, earlier this morning in London, Kenya's Kelvin Kiptum smashed compatriot Eliud Kipchoge's course record to win the men's London Marathon in the 16 seconds outside Kipchoge's world record, finishing in 2 hours, 1 minute, 25 seconds. Kiptum produced the fastest marathon debut in Valencia in December, where he finished in 2 hours, 1 minute and 53 seconds. Now, Sifan Hassan also produced a remarkable run to win the women's race. The Dutch Olympic track record champion, who is now 30, suffered a hip injury but battled to win on her debut at that distance. In the women's race, Hassan, who won the 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters at the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, appeared out of the race after dropping back early on with a hip problem, but gradually fought back. She then produced a sprint finish to win in 2 hours, 18 minutes, 33 seconds. That'll be all for sports here on Midday Life. Entertainment News is next.
In entertainment this afternoon, Ghanaian gospel musician and multiple instrumentalist Prophet Atara is set to headline his maiden concert, the Atara Praise. The event will host legendary gospel musicians, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, Wayemiye hitmaker PSA Esther, Perez Music, and a host of others.
After the release of Uyodo, which won him many local and international awards, gospel musician Prophet Atara has been very instrumental and consistent with his ministry in the year under review. The multiple instrumentalists have teamed up with some of Ghana's finest gospel musicians, including PSA Esther, Perez Music, and legendary Daughters of Glorious Jesus to serve worshippers with spirit-filled concert. Speaking at the launch of the event, head pastor and founder of the Believers Grace Ministry International, Prophet Atara believes it is important for believers to come under one umbrella to worship their Maker in songs and in praise.
As we are going to gather together and praise God, I believe heaven will descend. When the apostles met and prayed, the Bible said fire came down from heaven. So as the saints are going together and pray or praise God, I believe heaven will descend.
VGMA Artist of the Year nominee PSA Esther said patrons will experience the touch of God and his miracle working powers at the concert.
I know definitely God is going to prove himself on that day. God is going to use us to glorify his holy name. So come with a great expectation, and I know that you will leave here with a great testimony.
And let's do something on the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards. Sansang Act of the Year nominee Nation has played his debut show in Europe. The Sisi Yellow singer performed alongside Ghanaian Afropop songstress Wiyala and other renowned artists at the Afrilax, Dodo and Friends concert in Switzerland. The fast emerging artist excited patrons of the concert with his breathtaking delivery. Nation first performed the song Kotoka with popular Swiss artist Dodo and later joined Wiyala to entertain the charged crowd with the song Tell Money to Come. That'll be all for entertainment this afternoon. Time now to discover the latest news-making headlines beyond Ghana.
The U.S. military has evacuated American diplomats and their families from Khartoum, President Joe Biden has said. A U.S. official said the operation was fast and clean. Fewer than 100 people were reportedly evacuated early on Sunday when 3 Chinook helicopters landed near the U.S. Embassy to collect them. The French Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced it was also beginning to evacuate its citizens and diplomatic staff from the country. Fierce violence erupted last week in Khartoum between two opposing armies. The power struggle between Sudan's regular army and a paramilitary force called the Rapid Support Forces (RSF) has seen heavy bombardment in the capital city, with hundreds killed and thousands more injured. In a call with reporters after the mission, Lieutenant General Douglas Sims said more than 100 U.S. troops from the Navy SEALs and Army Special Forces flew from Djibouti to Ethiopia and then into Sudan and were on the ground for less than an hour. Biden thanked Djibouti, Ethiopia and Saudi Arabia, saying they had been critical to the success of the operation, and he warmly praised the U.S. Embassy staff and military.
That'll be all for our package this afternoon. It came to you live from a news hub at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. If you log on to 3news.com, you find a lot more stories plus updates on those we brought you here this afternoon, including the Foreign Affairs Ministry working to evacuate Ghanaian nationals, including 73 students from war-torn Sudan by close of day today. I am Komla Adum. Join us at 7 p.m. for News 360 and at 8 p.m. for Day Trash. Good afternoon.